Hey everybody, this is Alex Fabrega coming at you again with another Teaching Tips Tuesday. Today I have with me Jaime Pack-Adair. She is the Director of Early Childhood here at FBC, and I am very excited to have her on. How are you doing today, Jaime?
Good, Alex. It is nice to be here with you.
Absolutely. I'm a little bit nervous because you were my supervisor for my TV and TVI internship way back when, so I hope I do well.
I think you'll do great, Alex.
All right, so I understand you want to talk to us about creating effective multisensory experiences for kids with multiple disabilities.
Yes, I do. I would like to share a few ideas for how to make our activities meaningful and engaging for our students.
Okay, what's the first thing we should have in mind going into this?
The first thing you want to think about is really creating an experience full of real objects. As you're doing a learning activity or a lesson, you want to have real objects ready for the student to feel, to explore, to touch. You want to pair it with the natural sounds that it might make. So as you're going through the activity, they need to be able to walk through step by step using real things. Pictures aren't going to be meaningful. Partial textures may not be meaningful, but have the real materials paired with what you're learning, and this will help support concept development.
Okay, so a question I often get when I'm talking to staff about things like this, what about objects that are not easy to get into a classroom environment, like a full-size car? Would a toy car do?
A toy car might be able to teach a concept of opening and closing a door on the toy car, or the concept of feeling a wheel move across a surface. It's not going to teach the full concept of a car. You may need to take a trip out to a parking lot and really see what the full car looks like, since you can't bring it into a classroom. You could also get some car sounds and have it on your phone or a tablet to hear those sounds. But you're going to have to put all of the pieces together for your student at some point.
And nothing would beat just going out, turning on a real car, feeling it, hearing those real sounds.
Absolutely not. If you really go out there and explore the car, it's going to make much more sense than a toy car.
Okay, so real objects, we've got that in mind. What's next?
The next one is consider the sensory components of an activity. When you're setting up an activity, if you as the teacher think about what are the other sensory experiences the student might be feeling. So if we take out vision and maybe you're doing a cooking activity, how does the food feel in our hands? Is it wet? Is it sticky? Is it dry? Is it crunchy? Is it squishy? What are those feelings? How does it feel from whole to part, or part to whole? What does it feel like as you're cutting it or stirring it or mixing it? Think about the sounds that food makes as you're preparing it. So think about all of those sensory components of the activity besides vision, and then is your student going to be interested in those sensory components? Are they going to have some hesitation, some sensory hesitations that they may be experiencing, that they may not like to feel it? So think about big picture. What else is involved in this activity that is not a vision component of it? And then how can you support your student through the activity? How can you make it meaningful to them without using their vision to participate?
I'm glad that you touched on that tactile defensive piece, because I've definitely done cooking lessons that I'm super jazzed about, and then as soon as those wet, sticky textures come into play, the student is no longer jazzed about it one bit. So that's
Right.
definitely a consideration.
It
All right,
can
so
be.
we've got real objects, we've got consider our sensory components. Now, could you give us an example of a multisensory experience?
One of those might be identifying sounds in our environment. And if we're not using vision, or vision is not meaningful, sounds can be confusing, they can be competing, they can sound similar. If you take the time to take a student through your classroom or through parts in the classroom and do a sound walk and really practice experiencing the sounds or identifying the sounds. What does it sound like when you turn the faucet on and off? What does it sound like when the classroom door opens, when it closes, when you put something down, when someone drops something, when you bump into something or you play with toys? Identify those sounds, give meaning to those sounds, because as you're moving through any activity, there's lots and lots of sounds. We need to know them. We need to know what they mean, how to identify them. And you can do that in a very small space in your classroom. You can do it in the hall. You can do it outside and just get bigger and bigger. But that sound walk can be done throughout the classroom, or it can even be done throughout your activity with your materials. And just these are the sounds that these things are making, and help them know what to experience and anticipate as they're moving through.
I did that with some of my students when I was a classroom teacher because there was so much distracting sound going on and so much, what is that? What is that? What is that? Once we covered what that was, we not only were the students seem more comfortable in the classroom, but they also seemed a lot more focused because there was a lot less curiosity about unknown noises.
Right. And unknown noises can be scary or just
Oh, yeah.
interesting. And so what do we do with those noises? And what do they mean? And do I need to pay attention to those noises?
Yeah.
Or is that noise not relevant to me?
All right. Well, thank you so much for telling us about this, Jamie. I have one more question for you, and that is, what is your favorite part of your job?
I really enjoy discovering new ways to teach students, new ideas, new strategies, new techniques of how to reach our students and our learners and to make things meaningful for them.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today.
Thank you, Alex. I enjoyed it.
And thank you so much to everybody at home for watching another episode of Teaching Tips Tuesday. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I will try and get an expert on who can talk to us about it. We hope to see you next week. Have a good one.